If you've spent more than a few seconds on social media or on the internet in the last couple of weeks, you'll be aware that a very famous Capri had a bit of a mishap a couple of weeks ago. This one here, it went woof in a rather unfortunate way, and the pictures looked pretty devastating when they turned up on Facebook. And everyone thought, the Minder Capri, it is no more, it's dead, it's kaput. But no, it's fixable. It's here, it's in classic car restorations here in Kent, where they are a bit of a Ford specialist, so putting it back together is not going to be a problem. And let's have a look at how this car has survived. Minder, of course, was the story of Arthur Daly, the lovable rogue and slightly dodgy car dealer, and his minder, Terry. Now, when the car first went up and pictures appeared on Facebook, everyone assumed it had been ethanol eating the petrol lines, which is a fairly safe assumption considering what ethanol is doing to petrol lines, and it's in the news a lot. But it turns out, in fact, that wasn't the culprit. Looking under the bonnet, it was an electrical short. So here is where stuff got nasty. Obviously, this is the epicenter of the fire. It looks like it was an electrical fault that started it, partly indicated by the way the loom has fused and melted together. It wasn't actually the owner driving at the time, but a mechanic taking it for an MOT, and he was luckily able to get the bonnet released quickly, because when the fire brigade arrived they didn't have to damage any of the bodywork in order to get under the bonnet and start extinguishing it. Fortunately, the fire brigade were amazingly quick getting there. They were only a quarter of a mile away, just packed up from a previous shout when the alarm went to come to this one, so they were there in literally no time, seconds almost. And when they saw it as a Capri on fire, suddenly the effort involved in putting it out went up quite a lot, and so they got everything off the truck in double quick time, got the hoses out, got the pumps out, got the water on, and got the fire out before any significant damage actually happened. So this is an amazing save. Okay, the plastic parts are clearly gone. You shouldn't have a favourite part of a destroyed car, but this indicator and bit of grille is my favourite part of this destroyed car. It's like modern art. I'd hang it on a wall, frankly. The car does actually still function more or less. Even the brakes still work, although the reservoir is probably past its best, if I'm honest. Now, fortunately, because the fire brigade were so fast, there's not really any panel damage, so these inner wings, the outer wings, can almost certainly be saved. This front panel can be saved. The bonnet may have to be replaced, or will likely have to be replaced, but it's in the right place to find out if that's going to be the case or not. And obviously there's some minor restoration work under the bonnet. Everything plastic, everything rubber's got to be done. I'm guessing some other engine work with anything that might have melted or been damaged by the fire will have to be done as well. But as you look down into the engine bay, the bottom half is actually virtually undamaged. It's quite remarkable. So the fire was erupting out of this gash here, and it's cooked the paint off the car pretty badly, and quite amusingly, it's cooked the edges of both front tyres, which is almost hilarious almost to look at in a funny sort of way, and just slightly darkened the alloys. But the alloys have survived, the tyres less so, and the paint it's like modern art, the way it's kind of peeling and flaking off now. But there's no distortion in the wings. Looking down the side of the car, you can see it hasn't warped it, hasn't distorted it, so this is savable. Round the front, obviously, all the glasswork, all the plastic work's gone. The iconic famous number plate has melted. The spoiler did kind of melt, but it fell off when it was being loaded onto the truck, so we need to find a new spoiler for it now. The underbonnet temperatures must have been devastatingly high to do this kind of damage, but it's amazing how far it didn't travel, and it's a testament to the fast work of Surrey Fire and Rescue as well, that they got to the car in time and did such a good job of putting it out, because looking at the bottom of the engine bay and past the bulkhead, there's almost no damage to the car at all. Seen from behind, you wouldn't believe the car had been involved in any kind of incident at all. Consider how hot this was to melt the front of the car, and yet this relay, which was inside the engine bay, is almost untouched. Now, these are the actual seats that Dennis Waterman sat in during filming Minder, so it is a massive relief that these are not damaged at all. These are preserved for posterity. But looking at here, it must have been terrifying seeing smoke, possibly even flame, coming through the apertures here, where the vents in the dashboard have actually melted. with black smoke flying up the windscreen, tarring up that bit of glass there, and you can see where it's singed on the back of the tax disc holder. And this glove box has literally melted. The T-shelf has melted to nothing and dropped off. That is quite devastating, terrifying heat. It must have been absolutely terrifying sat in this car, seeing the flames shooting out from underneath the bonnet there. So, what's next for the Minder Capri? Well, a full strip down, full bare metal, every nut and bolt and coffin sniff, down to the nuts and bolts, to make sure everything's sound, everything's solid, and all the savable parts are saved. This is a matching numbers car. We've got the VIN number, we've got the chassis plate there to prove everything's original, and everything's going to go back as it was here in-house. Once the car's down to a bare shell, it will be sandblasted to make sure there's no other corrosion hiding anywhere else. It's an old Ford after all, so it's an opportune moment to get that sorted out and a full restoration taken care of. So in a matter of months, this car will be back on the road, looking better than new. So I'll be calling in and keeping track of the progress of the Capri, stripping down and rebuilding. And you can follow it too here on Furious Driving. Just hit the subscribe button, updates when we call in, and visit the guys at Classic Car Restorations and see how we're getting on with the Minder Capri.